Well, here we are. Shehara Wooten. Hey, look, she's an author. Look, everybody, author. I'm not yet. Yet, right? Yet is the key word. But welcome back to the No BS Wealth podcast with your host, Stoy. Have a very special guest on stage tonight, today. Whenever this goes out for you, it is out. And that is Miss Wooten here, just raising her hand randomly. So today is going to be great. We have the book. This book, we've had other authors on before, but you're the first one we're going through a little more on the book side, right? I have all their books, but I believe the topic of, this series, Black CFP series, what's going on in our society, the timing of your book matters a lot. And I really can't wait to highlight that. So without further ado, Miss Wooten, how are you?
Doing fantastic. I'm excited to be here today. Thank you so much, Stoy, for having me.
Yes. Well, welcome. I'm excited about the book. I'm excited about growing a relationship with you. I know we've chatted before, but why don't you give everyone a background of where you're at, where you came from in your career, all the way to where you're at now, being a published author and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm so appreciative for you having me on here today. And my career goes back, gosh, it's like almost a 20-year journey for me. 20-year journey. So, coming up in August, 2020, yeah, 2023 here, it'll be 19 years that I actually was able to change careers. But I started before that. I started more than 19 years ago on that journey. I'm an engineer by training, so electrical computer engineer, went to the Ohio State University.
Oh, no, everyone in the Midwest is going to be mad now.
Go Bucks, right? All right. OHIO, right? So anyway, I went there for electrical computer engineering. I always knew as I was going through schooling that there was something different that I was going to do. I was like, this is a great degree. I got so far into it, I knew there was no turning back and it was going to be all right. But I knew even when I got the degree that I'd be doing something else. I didn't know what it was. And I had gotten to a place when I was living in Philadelphia. I had been part of a technical sales and marketing program at a company, industrial manufacturing company. And when I moved to Philly, I remember going to an Urban League Young Professional event, and it was a financial empowerment event. I was 25 years old, and I remember walking up to a financial advisor. I had never seen a financial advisor before. And I said, you know what? Hi, I'm 25 and I want to retire by 30. And I just paused looking at him like, so can you do that? Right. And
Right.
30 seemed ancient at that time in my life. It just seemed ancient. It's not everybody I know. But 5 years I knew was short. I was just like, but I really didn't enjoy what I was doing. And I just needed to, I needed something else. And so if he could help me figure it out, that was going to be the thing. And I remember going with him, meeting up with him in downtown Philadelphia. It was a big bank. But I walked away after meeting with him with some paperwork, but I didn't have any months passed and I didn't see my anything coming out of my account. And I believe it was a Roth IRA we were opening, but it never was open. Like nothing happened. And so I decided, let me figure this out. Let me learn for myself. And real quick, are you hearing some feedback?
Just slightly.
Okay, okay.
Just
I hear
slightly.
a little bit, and I'm not sure what's going on.
There's some adjustment.
Okay.
How about now? Oh, no, don't do that. That shut me off.
Oh, did it? Okay, because I can
How
hear
about now?
you. I don't hear anything now.
I don't either. Hey.
Good. Okay, great.
So.
Yeah, so I'll continue my story.
Yeah.
So you know, I was like, I really want to know this. I want to learn this for myself. And I started to take in as much information as I could. I had already read by this time Rich Dad Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich. And I think that's what even drew me to talk to a financial advisor when I went to that event. And then I started going to events at my church at the time. They were doing financial literacy events, and I just was taking in as much as I could. And then finally, I just said, you know what? This is what I want to do. I had read Purpose Driven Life. I read What Color is Your Parachute? And it was just like one of those things where I was like, I want to be a financial advisor. I didn't know what that all meant. So I ended up going ahead and becoming a financial advisor, changing careers. But actually, I didn't become a financial advisor out the gate. I ended up working at a annuity company, and a big annuity company, learned a lot about variable annuities. I was an internal wholesaler.
There you go.
And so for people who are in the industry, you might know what that is. And so that's what I ended up doing. And it was just a great way for me to get into the industry. And then eventually I changed over to a broker dealer firm. And then I was getting closer to working with my clients, working with individuals. And then from there, I ended up starting my own registered investment advisory firm, and started that. And it'll be 7 years in July that I launched out on my own. So it's been a great journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is a journey. Let's
It
talk about that. But let's talk about because you know, technically I launched my RA September of 2020, but helped build one from 17 till then.
Yeah,
Talk people through that. I think that's there's a couple things that I like to talk about within going out on your own and starting your own RA.
yeah,
Why don't you talk to people about that process
yeah.
a little bit, and then kind of like not necessarily what you learned because it's not an easy route, but what it meant to you to be able to do so.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I changed careers, and coming from being an engineer to this profession, and I really started to see that in my previous firm, that I just felt like I was getting further and further away from my purpose and why I changed careers. So what I was focusing in on were, assets and just all these different things, and my clients that I started to attract were people that did not have assets. They had good jobs, but they didn't have assets. So in my mind, because I was unaware at the time, I had been in the industry like 12 years, I think, by this point, and I didn't know that there was a fee only route to take. And so once I learned about the fee only model, I said, "Wow, this is a match for me. Like, this is what I've always wanted. I've always wanted this." And so I ended up talking with a friend of mine who had just left my previous firm. And I called her to see how she was doing and what she was up to. And the way that my office was set up at the time, I had a receptionist area, I had my office, and then another office in the back. But my assistant was already gone for the day. The door was locked, everything was done. But when I called her, it was actually March 7th, 2016. I remember the date. And when I called her and she told me that she started her own firm, I was like, "What?" And I shut my door as if to, get some
Right.
privacy, but nobody was in the
Nobody's
place.
there.
And I remember shutting my door and I sat down, like, tell me about this. Like, how did you
Right.
start your own firm? I can't believe I never knew that this is something I could do. And so she told me how she did it. And then I linked up with it's a organization called XY Planning Network. And that's what helped me go through compliance. I was living in the state of Arizona at the time. So um, connected through that, and working through their system and their requirements. And so this was in March. And then by July 1st, 2016, I left, put in my resignation. Then I had to take the Series 65, and I gave myself 2 weeks. I don't know why. Like, what was I thinking? And I was just like, oh my gosh, while I was studying, I gave myself less than 2 weeks. And then I was like, you know what, this is a lot. Like, I mean, it's not a bad, horrible test,
Right.
but I was just like, this is a lot for what I'm trying to do in this time frame. So I read up, yeah, give yourself about 3 weeks. No, it was more than that. It was like, give yourself about a month. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? But ended up passing it on, it was like July 12th or something. And then on the 14th of July, I remember all these dates. 14th of July, I ended up getting a message from the state of Arizona. Congratulations, your RIA firm is open for business. And it was just the best feeling. And it's not easy, right? Starting your own business or anything, but I had been doing it at the previous firm pretty much because I had to find everybody I had, and I started from scratch every month. So it was zero at every month. So I just felt like, it couldn't be worse than what I've already experienced. And it wasn't. It just got better for me. It got better, but I had gotten to a place where it was very low, like the commissions and all of that previously. It was tough. And so there was nowhere to go but up. So, so it was just like everything that I was going to do was going to be better than what I experienced before. And with all the efforts, and it's an evolution. Like the clients that I work with today are different than the clients that I work with then. The pricing that I charge now is different than what I did then. You just kind of grow through it. And then from there, as you've mentioned earlier, I've been able to expand out into speaking, paid speaking, and then my book, which you brought up earlier about that, and that was just a beautiful part of this journey. And then even how we met was I met you because you were taking the CFP exam, and you had done a really wonderful post about your journey, and I was like, oh my gosh. It's very similar because I had taken it 3 times actually. So on my third try, I did pass it in 2019, and and now I have the CFP behind my name, and it's just a journey to get here, and no one can take it away from me, right? So, and then once I got that, I would say business did open up, and things, just got even better. And then I think it's just a combination for me because I'm a virtual RIA firm. So I was always virtual. I've moved to several places since starting. Well, I'd say a couple. I lived in Arizona when I started my firm, was in Orlando when I passed the CFP exam, and now I live in Dallas. So what's nice is that I'm a virtual firm, and so I still get clients from all over the country. But the CFP really helped me to get into different directories and things for people to find me even better.
Absolutely.
So
Let's be
yeah,
real here. Okay.
yeah,
We both passed on the third try. We don't
yes.
recommend that to anybody.
No,
The stress on
it is
that
not
third
a fun
one was,
journey.
in that third one, I was sweating just going into it because if no one knows, you basically have to restart the whole thing. You got to take a year off. I mean, there's a lot of stress on that third one. But I just like I had posted and wrote that article, like I'd do it again. Like I would do
Yeah,
that journey again to get to, where I'm at too. But
yeah.
no, don't recommend that. If you
Don't
can,
recommend it. Yeah, if you
figure
can.
that out before.
Yeah, for me, it was just a lot of life changes, and I thought I could handle them all.
Yeah.
That CFP exam, it's
Yeah.
no joke. Like, I was like, oh, I'm an engineer. I've been
Right.
doing, and then I've been in the business a while. It's just no joke. You gotta have a stable life. Like, yeah. But I did find a program that I enjoyed, and it worked really well for me. I'm an engineer, so this program broke everything down for me, took it apart, and then I could put it back together. If I can't do that, then it's not good for me. I can't take a Cliff Notes version of the
No,
CFP
no.
study.
And
Not me.
I truly believe though having the experience in the real world
Yeah.
hurt on the exam, and not the whole thing. Let's be real, but like there was parts where I was like, "That's like real world. That's not even how that operates." So you have to
Yeah.
like switch that, and it took
Yes.
me to the third one to realize that you have to answer by the book, not
Yes.
what happens in real life.
Absolutely. That part. And then I remember talking with a friend of mine because I had a study buddy. And, she was just like, this exam I hate it or whatever. And I was like, you know what we got to do? We got to love it. We've got to accept it. We cannot
Right.
complain. We've got to embrace it while we're in this because that's the only way we're going to be able to get through this because it is so much that I was like, I don't do this. Like, what? I'm never gonna touch this. And I was getting I could tell I was getting a little bitter,
Yeah.
with my relationship with the CFP exam because of just the real world stuff that I was dealing with in actuality.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I was like, no, you gotta, and that was my term. I was like, we gotta respect the exam. You gotta
Yeah.
respect
Just
it.
respect the exam. I
Yep.
just respect the hell out of it. So
Yes.
you're a virtual firm, which is fantastic. I think we're like 90, maybe 80% virtual.
Yeah.
My wife and I and our kids are trying to move to Hawaii, so gonna try to be as virtual as possible.
Yes.
Talk us through that, from a client's perspective, right? Now, obviously, thankfully the pandemic happened. I say that because it really has helped catapult our industry to going virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were virtual before. There was things, but it just got really, really hot around the pandemic, and I don't think it'll ever revert back, in my opinion, which is really good. Why don't you talk through kind of like a process, your client process a little bit, but how to obviously people can find you all over the socials, which we'll blast. Don't worry, everybody. But once that happens, what's it feel like? What's the process?
Yes. So, like you said, for me, 2016, between 2016 and March, April 2020, there was a little bit more friction. Like I was, if I was in town with you and we networked, it was like, well, why don't we meet for lunch or why don't, And I was like, I'm virtual. So it was like I had to explain that a little bit more. But in 2020, that friction was gone and people understood it, and I didn't have to worry about even locally people wanting to meet with me. They understood it, right? And now they're just like, yeah, I don't want to travel an hour to get to you or a half an
Right.
hour. It's like a 3 hour event,
Right.
with traffic. So for me, it was all about, making sure I had the tools, making sure things were secure, and just making sure that my clients understood that we're doing everything securely. I use tools that are secure. Your information is not going to be transferred through, email and things like that. So really giving them that assurance, I think was really key. And then for me, like I said, just them understanding that the tools by this time, especially in 2020, people started to understand, oh, Zoom. I get that now. I understand that. Shehara, you've been working with me on Zoom all these years. Now I have to use it, but it was, those are some of the things I think with starting a virtual firm, just making sure. I think the technology is like the biggest thing with having that, and then being able to. I'm on social media, so I think giving people access to you via social so that they can see you, because I do believe a lot of the people that I've met with, even though they tell me, "Oh, I found you on the NAFA site or Fee Only Network or the CFP board," I do believe that they looked me up and they found me on social
Yeah.
first, and so it's almost like you build that rapport with them before they even show up for those meetings.
Yeah, and that's where our industry has changed and shifted a lot, right? You came from the annuity side, I came from the life insurance side. We've had to hit certain numbers and meet certain people, see them face to face, and I
Yes.
believe our industry has shifted to where people can really understand who you are before really any of the other back end stuff. And I think that's where our industry is moving more towards, and that's the psychology and the emotions around money. And I speak a lot about money mindset and your relationship with money. So I believe that with this whole dynamic shift of virtual, really,
Mhm.
it has allowed everyone to understand and really figure out who we are and realize that really the products, obviously concepts can change, but like the products and the overall advice, I'm not going to say is relatively all the same, but
Yes.
there's only so many tools that we have, right? And really it's going to come down to can their plan and them mentally achieve what's in front of them to achieve their goals, utilizing what we have. And usually people only get to do that if they have the right coach and the right person next to them side by side to help push them and drive them. And that's financial planning. That isn't anymore where we're selling annuities, insurance products. They
That's
have
right.
their place. They have their place. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely. Right.
But the other side is more important because that's the only way it's going to get done. So why don't we hit upon
Yeah.
that a little bit of money mindset? When
Yes.
you're speaking to clients, and you're going through the planning, how much of what you're doing is more on the psychology and their mindset, less about, hey, put $50 in your Roth that I'll never open or something?
Absolutely. No, that's so important. I'm a life-centered financial planner, so I really this is so key for me. And that was one of the things that drew me to starting my own firm because I do want to know. My company is called Your Story Financial or and then Your Story Financial Academy. I want to know your story. And so for me, my process is one where I'm pulling in a questionnaire that has us talk about how you've seen money in the past, how it's worked for you in the past. Because I do believe, how you've seen money, like even your first money memory, it has a lot to do with how you deal with money today. Whether it's opposite of what you do or what you learned from that money memory, or if you go right in stride with that money memory, whether it's good or bad, you still have that's usually an anchor. And then I like to see where are you presently. So we go through that, and then how does your future look? And we go through, and I would say that meeting, no matter how I look at it, I always tell them, even when they want to shorten it, we always go 90 minutes at least because it's just so much and they love sharing. So it's an opportunity for me to kind of learn about their thoughts about money, where they see it, get their story, and get more context to why, when they send me these numbers, why this is so important to them. And me understanding their why is really key so that I can remind them. There's a tool that I use called Elements, financial monitoring tool. And I love there's this place where we get to a point where we do talk about their statement of financial purpose. So we'll write that in, and that'll help us make money decisions because as we're like, hey, I'm dealing with, there's so many transitions that people are going to go through in life. So, oh, Shahara, I've got a new life transition. I want to buy this house, or I want to buy this car, or what should I do? Should I move across country? Well, let's go back to your statement of financial purpose and let's kind of run it through that. Let's run it through your values. So we talk about values in that meeting, and now I have just even a more solidified process around it that I'm introducing now too, and allowing us to really make our financial decisions through our values and through the things that mean the most to us, because it's not really the money, it's what the money can do. It's a tool. Like you said, like all those products, those are just tools to get us to where we want to go. But that's not the end all be all of why this money is important. That's a good question that I like to ask. Why is this money important? What is your relationship with money? That's always good to hear where their thoughts are. And then how can we, if it's negative, how can we change that through this process? Like, are you feeling paralyzed, stuck, ashamed, about your money? And a majority of people feel that way. And that's where we come into play, where we can help them not feel that way. If we can show them, okay, wow, they're thinking, wow, I've got $1 million in net worth. I had somebody show me, and we looked on paper that they had 1 million in net worth, but they were really worried about their life. And they're only, in the early 40s. But what it was is the majority of that net worth was showing up in their property. So when we looked at their liquidity, when we looked at their retirement, um, it was not a lot in that area. And that's why, she was very concerned and worried. So that's where we can help, give them some context, like, this is great, but now we'll work on some other areas, but you're
There's
not in trouble.
right, you're not in trouble. There's two things that you didn't mention at all, and I want everyone to go back, re-listen to what she said, because these two things aren't in there. One, you didn't scold or say anything about my $8 Starbucks every day. You didn't say anything about that.
No.
You also did not speak about what percentage of returns you can get on investments. And I think that is very, very important for everyone to understand that our jobs we don't do that. I don't care about your $8 Starbucks. I don't care. Because what that is it could be a positive or a negative money mindset with that. That relationship could be good or bad there. That's what I care about. And
Yeah.
then if you come to the conclusion that maybe I shouldn't do that every day, perfect. But we're going to fit it in. We're going to make it work until we can develop a better habit or relationship. The investment
Absolutely.
returns. You didn't say anything about that.
No.
And I don't know how much louder to be about the fact that most people do not care about the returns overall. They care about one thing. Is what I'm doing going to help me reach my goal? Ultimately.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, when I listen to you, I put it in this, it's in this account. Will I be able to buy that? Will I be able to retire? Can I do this with my kids? That's the answer.
That's what they're looking for. You're
It's
right.
not up 20% this year, down 10% next year. Yeah, that's helpful, right? But it's
Yes.
the means to the end, right? Ultimately, am I good when this achieves? And that's what we get judged on. That's what, when that happens, the happiness, that weight, which we get to feel with our clients, is it was achieved. And when it's achieved, there's no words about what return or anything happened.
Not
It's
at
just
all.
pure joy of, I got to do this. I achieved this. I am able to retire. And ultimately, that's what planners are for. That's our duty.
Absolutely. And we also have to understand that we're making our best guess. Life changes so much. If I'm working with a 30-year-old, we don't really know what's going to happen 35 years from now. We don't. And so we
Mm-mm.
are helping to make our best guess and we're walking them through it. Life changes, life goes up and down, things happen, and we're there to collaborate with them along that process. And like you said, if that $8 Starbucks satisfies you, then that's what, and it's so rare that you're right that I go that route. I did have a client a couple weeks ago who we were looking at their cash flow and she started to go that route. And I was like, okay, well, yeah. I mean, if you think cutting
Right.
out Netflix or Hulu is going to help, then, but I'm not a
Let's do it.
forensic
Right.
accountant,
Yeah.
accountant, but if you think that's where it is, then yes, let's test that out. Let's see what happens when you let that go. Because I mean, yeah, you know if they know if they have a gym membership they're not using, all these things that we have that you started to use and you just stop
Happen.
using it, right?
It's
So
life.
yes, it's life. But I'm not here to tell you. But I mean, if you come to the conclusion yourself, that's where the power is.
Mm.
Because now you're gonna do it. And I even had someone just last week, late last week, she said, okay, we have these tasks for me to do. And she was overwhelmed by all the tasks. So it was a good learning moment for both of us to discuss. And she said, I need you to tell me what I need to do. So I told her, I said, I'm not going to tell you what you need to do. What I want you to do is we're going to go through this list during this meeting and we're going to see what is it that you feel is most important. But I will give you some guidance if I see that, oh, you know what, this is something you can do tomorrow. Let's knock this out. But we were able together to knock out about four of the things right on the call. And then from there, she was just like, okay, I get it now. Cause I was like, I want you to be able to feel, that conviction, not just, oh, Shehara told me to do this, I'll do
Right.
it. I want you to do it out of your own motivation. So you tell me like what you feel is most important because everything we had aligned with everything she wants to do, right?
Yeah.
But we just had to pick out like what is most important that you can do tomorrow. So it was a good exercise there.
And those exercises that I've learned the most have been, they're emotional. Like it's heavy, and I try to warn everyone on front. I don't want to scare anybody, but when
Yes.
you go through that legit process and you really put everything out there, it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's a very heavy emotional time. But the great thing out of it is everyone that's been through it has broken down and cried, and they've come to realize that they weren't in a good spot, and they recognize that whatever situation was causing trauma, that is the reason that they always buy shoes, or whatever it is.
Yes.
It comes from that, and then that's when they can start to turn. And where I say, hey, it's emotional, but I'm here for you the whole time. And
Absolutely.
financial planning, like you said, is not a, I'm going to go get a big, like they used to do, right? They used to deliver this big old thing, slap it on the
Yes.
desk. There's your financial plan. See you in 40
Yeah.
years. It's
Right.
not real. Things change monthly, daily.
Mhm.
I mean, hell, we just had a client that we hired not too long ago, or hired us not too long ago, and we went through this emotional time and everything came up, and now they're getting a divorce. Well, guess what wasn't in the plans at all?
Right.
That.
A
Those
divorce.
things. And
Yep.
now we have a lot of heavy lifting to do, and that's what we're here for. Help us both out.
Absolutely.
Let's move forward, take care of the kids, and let's have a good time. So I
Absolutely.
definitely want to hit upon that and make sure that people understand that us as planners are here for the long haul. Being fee only or whatnot is you're
Yes.
paying for us as a partner in life. And when things
Absolutely.
change and go awry, or they don't, they go very well, we're here to make sure that something terrible doesn't happen, but also making sure that you stay within some boundaries, right?
Absolutely. Yes. I always tell people, we're not predicting the worst will happen. We're just planning for the best situation should the worst happen. So there's some things that we can see as financial planners. We have that 30,000-foot view and we can see some blind spots. It's just like with anything when we hire a coach or someone to collaborate with, they can see the blind spots. They can see, oh, you need to focus on this, but it was something you weren't even thinking of because you're just so in the trenches,
Right.
and so that's the benefit to working with a financial planner.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. So now it's time.
Yes.
It's time. In the meantime, it is time for us to go through a little bit of your book. Obviously, we don't want to give everything away. You have to buy the book. Like, let's be real. We're not going page by page. We're not going chapter by chapter. We're going to give you an overview because the whole point is to buy the book and then read it.
Absolutely.
So, in the meantime, uh, I know this, so I have to like re-question it, as in no one knows what I know.
Yeah.
But let's back up to what everyone always asks: is how did you come up with that title?
How did I come? Yes. So great question. So the premise of the book and the motivation for the book was once I heard the statistic that Black wealth will go to zero by 2053 unless we do something about it.
Say that again, louder for everybody.
Yes, for the people in the back. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Black wealth will go to zero by 2053 unless we do something about it.
that's 30 years gone.
30 years.
30 years
Oh,
is all gone.
yeah. And thanks for pulling it back to that reality because I wrote it in 2021 and I've been saying this for a couple years, but now we're 30 years
30.
away.
Mm-hmm.
30 years away. So I just was under that when I saw that, and I learned that there was a 228-year wealth gap between white families and black families. It was just an astounding statistic. I just felt like, okay, let me do my part to make sure that doesn't happen. So one of the things I wanted to do is really look at the history behind this, share some inspiring stories, as well as provide financial empowerment tips. And one of the things that stood out to me was the fact that my ancestors, who built the country for free, no, didn't get paid, they were enslaved. Soon as the enslavement ended, they didn't get anything. So I said, well, that has a lot to do with the fact that there's this wealth gap. Then on top of that, you have all these historical things that have happened, this historical history of exclusion. And so I thought, yes, I do believe we deserve to get reparations. And I thought, man, maybe I'll write a book about that. But I didn't have enough. That's such a deep subject. I don't know that I was ready. I don't know. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to write about that. So I said, in the meantime, what do we do? And so
Hmm.
so that's where it came from. In the meantime, we want to own our financial narrative, and that's where the subtitle came. So I said, in the meantime, if say we get some reparations, say you don't ever get it, in the meantime, what do we need to do? And that's where I said, well, let's share some financial empowerment nuggets, some tools, some gems. Let's talk about stories of people who have overcome despite economic injustice and provide some inspiration. And then I want to share some history, some historical context throughout the book. So that's where the title came from.
See, that's great. See, that
Yeah.
story's fantastic. That
Yes.
story's
Yes.
fantastic. No, but really, the what got me the most is, well, let me back up. It, at the end of every chapter, there is either a guide or something for you to do and a nugget for you to take. Obviously, I love the hell out of that. However, in my profession, like obviously, I know those things. So
Yes.
really, what I attuned to was the history and the story. I'm born and raised Omaha, Nebraska, right? Black population's not great there. Isn't great here in Des Moines, Iowa either.
Yeah.
Families from my black side's from Mississippi and Jackson area,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just never grew up in the same culture and understanding the history. It was always, I guess, whitewashed, if you will, but like it
Mhm.
just wasn't there prevalent as much. So there's a lot of stories and things that I learned for the first time reading your book,
Yeah.
and made me go down a lot of rabbit holes. And since then, have listened to a lot of podcasts and learned a lot more. But it's
Yes.
one of those things that I think, no matter where you come from, if you want to know true culture and true people and their stories that definitely came from a different situation than you,
Hmm.
this book hits that too, on top of it. And then you learn those lessons and can take it and apply it. And that's what got me personally.
Thank you for that feedback. I love that. That's what I want people to hear, and because everybody, I've had so many cultures, ethnicities read the book, and they came back to me like, "Oh my gosh, like did not know anything about this." And I didn't initially know everything. My parents were always very big on making sure I understood my history, but it wasn't until I got into the financial services field and I started working with people that I did question, like, man, there's such a disparity. And it's like it, but it's not until you really look at it through a historical lens that it starts to make sense. And then you realize, oh, not everything's my fault. Like, no one's really
Mhm.
pulling themselves up by their own bootstraps. They really aren't. Like, it
They're
takes
not.
community. It takes, an extra helping hand.
Right.
And then if your government provides that helping hand, like that is even better.
Right.
So,
You're not wrong. You really
yeah,
are. And
yeah,
and it just really hits home, and what this is where I'm going to lead into with the whole uh black community, but really just minority community in general, is no, we were not fed the same hand ultimately.
yeah,
Will reparations happen? Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. California is trying to do something here
they
very
are.
shortly, apparently,
Mhm.
which was really cool to see, kind of
It
surprising in
is.
my eyes. um but that being said, is you're right. The just representation in our own industry. I think we made like 4% of the CFPs now.
Yeah,
So that's good, but it's 4%.
absolutely.
And everyone always asks me, why don't you have a bunch of black clients or minority clients? And I revert back to two things. One, that there's only 4% of us that are CFPs.
Yeah.
Okay. If
Hmm.
you don't, most people work with people they look like, or at least have that around to get into it.
Absolutely.
4% representation of our population is very, very low. Okay.
Very low.
The other is the fact that we've got this lack of education
Hmm.
from the schools. Schools are wrong, right? Our
Yeah.
education system's not good. But
Right.
outside of that, in our own home, our
Yes.
parents didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Their parents didn't know anything. And how far do we go? Right? How far does our own chain go of not having that education and understanding how to build wealth from many of factors that you talk about, right? And that's
Right.
whether it is education, whether it is the system against us, whether it is our own doing, or hell, what if just death in the family? Maybe there was that one uncle I had back way back somewhere that was
Yeah.
killing it, and all of a sudden he died, and it just
Yes.
stops with him.
It
We don't
stopped. Hmm.
have that generational wealth. And I
Yeah.
don't mean it from a money's perspective. We don't have it from an education's perspective. So now you
Exactly.
get into this world where money is everything and everywhere and runs everything. And you've got a lot of people who don't know what to do, where to go, and think you have to have a ton of money to work with us, ultimately. And that's where we get that misconnect. And that's why I don't have 10,000 minority clients. That is why that a lot of minorities do not have financial planners and understand all of that. And we keep repeating our cycles.
Absolutely.
I want you to speak on that a little bit as well, but also what can they do and we do collectively as a society to really try to continue to pull each other up and not pull each other down, but lift each other up.
Lift each other up. Yeah, no, great question. Yeah, when you were talking about just the fact that there's 4%, it's so true. I mean, there's a legacy, there's a generational pass down of knowing that there's a financial advisor that I could tap into, right? Like I said, I didn't meet I knew a little bit about it. That type of thing, but it wasn't until I got out of college and I went to that financial empowerment event that I saw a financial advisor for the first time. And it's just one of those things where I think starting young, having conversations, not making it a taboo around the house to talk about money, giving your children, if you have children, giving them an opportunity to just see a slice of what you're doing. Like even if you can give them just an idea of how much you make. I mean, growing up, that was taboo to know how much your parents made, right? But I think knowing something, knowing how you're paying the bills, showing them that, taking them to the bank. I remember I had a client told me that she dressed her daughter up and then they went into the bank. I even told a story similar to that in my book where someone he was taken to the bank. Just not making it so mysterious. And then seeking out a financial planner too. Now that you're hearing it, whoever is listening right now, you're getting access to some information that a lot of us never even heard about growing up. So this is an opportunity to talk about, where would I go to find a financial planner? How can I find one? Where are they located? Learning about that. Getting your hands on as much information as possible. So, of course, my book, but there's all kinds of books out there to read, and that's what I did. I was just like so inundated. I was really interested in it, and I know some people they want to become an ostrich, and talking about finances is the last thing you want to do. But it's something we do have to own. We have to take the opportunity to learn about it. And in whatever way you can do it, whether that's a podcast, YouTube, finding books, audio books, whatever it is to get that messaging inside of you and get that motivation to look for this information. So what I do is in my little world, my thought was let me go ahead and write a book and then that I can get that out to the masses. But then I also have an academy that I'm building out too, and it is very focused. I'm focused on young Black women STEM professionals on that, and then I have my one-on-one practice. So I have a multitude of different ways that I'm getting the messaging out. So from a financial planner standpoint, we can look at it. How can we get it out amongst our community and how where we have influence? And then for the consumer perspective, how can you reach out? How can you find people that you feel you can learn from and that you trust? Take the time to learn about and getting involved. I'm a collaborative financial planner. Like if you just delegate it to me, I don't work best in that, but there are financial planners that are okay with that delegation, but I love to work with people as we're moving forward. So finding that right mix with you and your financial planner too, I think is important as well.
Absolutely. Interview us.
Yes.
Get to know all of us. And, like you
Yes.
said, some of us do certain things that the others don't. Some of us work together too. It's not like it's one or the other. There's a lot of things that collaboratively we can all do together. And I want to highlight something that you kind of challenge everyone to do, and that is to talk about your money. This is something that I speak about a lot, and we talk around, and that's the fact that people love talking about some of their legal issues, their health issues. They blast their stuff all over social media about that stuff. But
Yes.
money is so taboo. And everyone believes that they're, an expert and they can control their own money and that they're making the best decision for themselves. And the challenge to that is we're not. It is not something that one can very have an expertise over. You can be good at it, you can understand it, but money is one of the most emotionally driven things out there that your health and all those things aren't. They are not. And
Yeah.
when you have money, you're going to overspend. We all do it. When you
Yes.
have more money, you overspend. When you don't have money, you still overspend, right? That's how it
Absolutely.
works. And that's an
Yes,
emotionally driven thing. So
it is.
challenge yourself to educate yourself, talk about it to family, friends, financial planners. And
Yes.
then third, come find us. We're everywhere. You can go to the CFP board, Advisor Finder. You can go to XYPN. I mean, there's so many ways, or just Google. Go ahead and just type us into Google, and you'll find a
Hmm.
bunch of us on YouTube, podcasts, etc. We're out
Yes.
there. We're becoming
Absolutely.
more and more prevalent as well, thanks to the SEC loosening up a little bit of our rules and rangs, and then
Sure.
others just realizing that our job is to be out there speaking. This is what we're giving you. Sure, deem it advice if you want. It's just good things to know about money, and we're here to help as much as possible. So with that, where can everyone get this precious thing? And I got a signed copy.
Yeah, yeah.
Where can everyone
Absolutely.
get the book at?
Yes, so the best place to go, Amazon. I'm on Barnes and Noble. I'm on Books a Million and many other sites. I think I even searched Walmart and online, and they have the
Hey.
book. Yeah, so I also recorded the book, so people are downloading it off of Audible, and it's narrated by myself, yours truly
How
here.
was that process? How was that though?
Oh
Was it
my
tough?
goodness. It was tough. It was a lot of work, and we were supposed to be very mindful of our voice, and and take care of our voice during that time frame. And for whatever reason, my voice was the scratchiest. Like right now, it's not scratchy, but during that time, it was just like I had to time it and make sure my voice was okay. So it was interesting, but I got approved by the audio engineers. They said it sounds good and it sounded crisp, but my voice right now is in a better place than it was then. I don't know what was going on back then, but it was a neat process, very neat process. I learned a lot from it. And I hope that people enjoy that it's not monotone. I'm talking, I have some inflection. I hope it's exciting to listen. Yeah, so it was something. And then the book writing process was something too. But I have it in paperback, and then Stoy, you've got the hard copy.
Mm.
Yeah, so you've got the special hard copy, and then we've got it on ebook, so Kindle, and you can go to the iBooks or whatever too, and all these different places. So you can find it there, but I am mostly right now, I'm mostly on LinkedIn. So if you're active on LinkedIn, definitely follow me. It would be great to see you on there. I can give you my link story too that has like a link tree
Yeah.
so people can find me everywhere. And then I also, of course, I do Instagram, but I'm just not as active on Instagram as I am on LinkedIn. But yeah, those are the main places to find me.
There we go, everybody.
Yes.
We'll obviously get the links, put it in all the description, do all those things that we
Yes.
need to do from a marketing perspective. But uh,
Absolutely.
what was there anything else that you wanted to speak about or provide to the audience?
Yeah, I just think when it comes to money, I just tell people, stay encouraged. Don't go out there thinking that everything's going to happen tomorrow. Give yourself grace in terms of building wealth and understanding that Rome wasn't built in a day, your wealth won't be built in a day. And if we're talking about legacy building and creating generational wealth, just understand that everything that you're doing now today is building up to that wealth that you're looking for here in the future. So link up with a financial planner is going to help you track and look at those progress so that you can celebrate those wins along the way, because it may seem very daunting, but with the proper tools, with the proper outlook, you're going to be able to be an amazing wealth generator. So just want to leave people with that.
Well, mic drop. That's it. I mean, she did it. She wrapped it up. I'm not even going to say anything else besides thank you, Shehara, for being on. I look forward to blasting all of this, and stay tuned because
The preceding program was sponsored by Black Mammoth. Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Black Mammoth. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Black Mammoth website, www.blackmammoth.com. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions and securities, or the rendering of personalized investment advice due to various factors including changing market conditions. The information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up-to-date, Black Mammoth do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature and is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Past performance is not indicative of future results.